We have the footage.
And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Got the like, share, and subscribe button down there. Appreciate it if everybody would hit that. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody who wants to share some love. And, of course, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. We've got John with us tonight. How you doing tonight, John?
We're doing good, Keith.
Good, good. We're going to go ahead again with part 2 of the cancellation of debt review that we started on Friday. And my apologies for not being able to continue on with it last night, but we are here continuing tonight with it. And we're going to get right into it. Unless you've got anything else to put out first there, John?
Nope, nothing yet.
All right. We're going to continue on with that. I believe we left off with the endorsement. And again, this is cancellation of debt, part 2, from KRISTINA Wilson Private Bank Estate Trust. And again, the link is down in the details section for all these videos and her main channel.
Okay, guys, this is part 2 of cancellation of debt. I'm going to pick up where we left off. And that is, we were talking about the utility bills. So just a little bit of a recap. We talked about the transmitting utility, that you are the transmitting utility. You are the energy. Your fiction is acting as kind of like Western Union, right? It's sending you money. It's the utility, not the utility company. I had the opportunity to kind of listen to myself explain the utility, and I felt like I didn't do a good job like explaining it in simple terms, because I know it's hard to not grasp the fact that the utility company is not giving you electricity and water, and that they named their company a utility company for that purpose, that they knew that they would cause confusion, that you didn't know what a transmitting utility was. And so if
Yeah, I see these more as like service agreements than actual contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, and my apologies. I thought I was on mute there. That's what it is when it comes to these bills. You're the second billing party. Like I said the other day, the primary billing party is the one that's got to keep that occupied dwelling up in good maintenance, and that's what that lease agreement is about. That's why you agree to the maintenance. Okay. Now, in that contract, you're also taking on the liability of the utility payments as a second billing party through being the tenant main tenant. That's maintenance. That's the conversion. Yeah. And you're not obligated to take on that liability if you don't have an occupation. You're not occupying the dwelling as a principal place of business as a resident. That's the defining term that says you're running a business as a federal, state, or municipal officer or agent. That means you have to have an oath and a license.
If you don't know about it, I mean, you act ignorantly, like me. I'm not calling you ignorant. Ignorant just means that you don't know something. You don't have enough information about something. I don't really, view being ignorant as a bad thing because you have the ability to be ignorant and then stop being ignorant. Okay. And so we were talking about that transmitting utility in reality being you. And you gave them an open letter of credit, an open-ended letter of credit, a revolving letter of credit, so that they can take funds to grow their business, okay? And they misrepresented themselves as utility companies to get you to pay into their business every month, when in reality, all they're giving us is banking services, okay? When they send you that utility bill, look at it. It tears off at the bottom like a check. Okay, it has routing numbers on the bottom, routing and account numbers. And I want to tell you about those numbers as well. I don't want to throw so much information at y'all and make your head spin, but I'm trying to little by little expose you to um, the truth and the reality of these transactions. Okay. At the bottom is an account number that the utility company gave you. That account is offshore. You want to know how Ukraine is getting all of our money? Because of companies like Reliant and our ignorance. And so when we pay extra money into these offshore accounts, that routing number, if you go look it up, it's a routing and account number. You'll find out that there is an account in your name that is offshore. And offshore accounts are identified by your last name written first. So in my case, my offshore account is Wilson KRISTINA M. That account is offshore. It's a derivative of KRISTINA M. Wilson. It's a clone. And so what they do is that they send these accounts offshore because they know we don't know. And they
Remember the other day I mentioned that term cloned account. It's what they basically do when you get a home loan, go in and then abandon that promissory note, and then they turn around and use the credits from the federal discount window and open a cloned account.
funnel money into those accounts. And then now, like, if you contact the IRS, right? And I learned this from Patrick, and you find out about all these offshore accounts that you got, did y'all know that you're like a drug runner? You're a weapons dealer, okay? You sell weapons of mass destruction. Like, they are child trafficking. They are doing all this shit in our name, and we're helping them do it because of our ignorance, right? So that account number at the bottom of this utility bill is offshore, and Reliant knows that it's offshore, and so does its executive officers, such as its chief financial officer, the president of Reliant. They're banking on us not knowing this information, so that when we add those additional credits by paying these bills, at the end of the year, they can claim it as abandoned funds because nobody came forward and said, hey, it's mine.
Abandoned funds. Everything's the abandoned funds. What are those funds and where did they derive from then? Understand, if they're yours, then you're the one that's funding the stuff. It's a very basic principle through their law, and listening to how this stuff happens, how this process works. It's an abandonment, and it's an abandonment of funds. Those funds are credit from you.
They can claim it as abandoned funds, and then they administer it to their shareholders as profits. And so then they go and then they pay into things like child trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking, whatever type of trafficking you can think of, and we're all financing it unknowingly. So this is how our money is getting into these foreign countries, because Reliant, whether you know or not, is not American. Its charter is not American, it's foreign. So the bill that you receive from a lot of these companies are coming from Germany or France or the UK, and you don't know it. You don't know that you're doing business with Germany. You don't know that T-Mobile, for example, T-Mobile it's chartered out of Germany. So anytime you make a payment to T-Mobile, you've just sent off money into an offshore account for German shareholders and oligarchs and executives in Germany to take advantage of your account in your name. And then they go and they do all types of illegal stuff in our names. Okay. So T-Mobile is not American. It's based out of Germany. So when they send you these bills, you have to convert it into what's called an international bill of exchange because a foreign nation is sending you money. They are sending you money and you have to convert that money into a currency that you can use. Okay? So the reason that we affixed a certified mail
Greetings, Joyce. Welcome to the stream.
barcode to this instrument is to tie it to the post office, which is the land jurisdiction.
Did you hear that?
Land
The
jurisdiction.
Admiralty Maritime, right? The Admiralty Maritime jurisdiction that these courts administer are just that, and that's the commercial element, which is the law of the sea, and they've been extended inland by inland marine installations known as post offices that carry land jurisdiction. They are the exclusive element, thereby the exclusive jurisdiction. Again, correlating to your capacity when you're born to have a state's vital statistics jurisdiction that is created by the state exclusively for yourself, the individual so named in the record, and has its own unique identifier, the Social Security number.
Is that why the post office has a wave when they stamp your envelope?
Well, they say it represents the flag, but
It could be
yeah, it
something
might
else.
be that. Yep. Waves of the oceans of the seas.
We want to take this out of the sea. And the sea is just where we do commerce, where we trade and where we exchange things. Okay. But if we do not certify these documents or register these documents to the land jurisdiction, which is the post office. The post office is the people's court. The post office is one of the highest courts in America. It is a bank, and all of you have safety deposits.
It's the highest court in the world. Again, folks, remember, all the nation's leaders go forth in a postal congress and contribute a percentage of the gross domestic product to the IMF, which is deposited wherein they are a financial institution, remembering the law is uniform throughout all jurisdictions, that is, once that deposit is made, they have either already given credit or are obligated to give credit, just as it states in 12 U.S.C. 813 and 12 CFR 204.2, deposit. The very definition of deposit means the same thing throughout all jurisdictions when it comes to that establishment of credit. It's the electronic system. The U.S. doesn't go forth and give them so much of a gross domestic product in Federal Reserve notes. They do it in a singular mode of a monetary funding, which is the credit system. And again, you are where those funds come from originally. That's where
that you think are just mail.
That's where it's supposed to circle back to, creating or having the full effect, intended effect of circulation. But what goes out is supposed to come back to its source, the credit source.
Boxes. Nope. That's not what it is. It's a safety deposit box. And so when you attach this certified mail, you're including the Postmaster General into the transaction. And also that barcode number you see, that is now an account number, because we're not going to use that offshore account number at the bottom of this instrument, because now
See, that's letting them know judicially that they're being put on as trustee. See, they're the intermediary. When they said common law was merged with equity, what they did was they merged trust law with contract law. So they are the trustee. They are the registered agent of the trust. And again, it's the Global Postal Trust Services.
now we know better. We know that if we pay this money, that they're going to funnel that money into that account number. You see, I blocked it out at the bottom of the utility bill. They're going to funnel money into that account, and then they're going to use it for whatever illicit means that they want. And so to stop them from doing that, we certify these funds.
Greetings, Russ. How you doing tonight?
Doing well. Greetings, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I appreciate bringing me up, Keith.
Absolutely. I always appreciate to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Funds, and we tie this money to the land jurisdiction, which is the post office. Okay, and we tell the postmaster that, hey, we need your help facilitating this transaction. You do not put certified mail or registered mail barcodes on an envelope. We would not certify an envelope. That is not the instrument that has any value.
Remember, I've mentioned this a couple times. If you go back in my videos, I did a review of a envelope I sent back that had certain codes on it, and one of those references was to that barcode. It's an unreadable code by man. You have to use a machine in order to read those codes. So there is a definitive separation of a language element on that envelope that disqualifies me being able to communicate in that same fashion. So it's kind of like a secret language, right? It's kind of like a code. That's why it's called a barcode. I don't have a code reader. So there's something amiss there that is tying that element in, and that's what we're talking about, is that jurisdiction of those crossing those jurisdictional boundaries. The Postal Service is the one with the exclusive jurisdiction to cross all of those boundaries. No one else. They get their powers delegated from the Postal Service.
It's not the envelope, it's the instrument itself. You have to attach a certified mail barcode or a registered mail barcode. And I'll talk to you more in another video about.
See, she's talking about the instrument inside. And this is why I say you can put that registered mail number on the envelope, but you also want it on the instrument inside. This is the same thing with the certified mail. If you're going to do it either way, you want to make sure if you're going to put it on the envelope, it's on the instrument itself as well. And we used to just cut the barcode in half, and then copy the number on the instrument, and then paste the half of the barcode on the instrument, leaving the half of the barcode with the numbers on it on the envelope. That way, the handwritten number shows that the barcode is the same as the barcode on the outside, and all they got to do is scan both barcodes, and it should say, "Yep, duplicate." They match. It's kind of like a birth certification process. It's saying this cargo came off of this ship.
The difference, or when you'll use a certified mail barcode versus when you'll use a registered mail barcode. Okay. And so now we have given this bill a different account number. Okay. So we've messed up their plans to run.
See, it's creating an overwriting. Like I said, any instrument you can veto, line item veto, and overwrite. This is the same concept. You have the right to put your own private expression on the instrument. This is your right of contract. That instrument is a security instrument in contractual form. So what you're doing here is binding the trust by showing your capacity as holder in due course. They've already instrumentalized it under a trusteeship, showing their co-trustee. They have a named trustee. You must therefore, if they're the trustee under a grant, then there's already a grantee and a trustee. You therefore must be the beneficiary or benefactor. The due process.
This money into an offshore account by getting our banker to do what it's supposed to do. Okay, because the banker is dead. It is a straw man in a way, and it doesn't have a brain, but you do. You're the brains behind the operation. You're the controller. So you have to act on behalf of your fiction. Okay, and if you don't act,
that, like I said, that United States citizen as a United States business is the transmitting utility, and you get to utilize it as holder in due course in a superior capacity as the benefactor that gives to the beneficiary. Therefore, what you give must be returned. You are the source. You are the creditor to all of those transactions. Without you, then what good is a grantee or a trustee with no beneficiary? The beneficiary must be recognized by capacity.
act, then
And that goes without any identification. Again, it's the actions of settling things.
I mean, your fiction can't do anything. It's not living. You know that. You've heard people say this before, but they say it in such like, it's like a sinister way. It's like a way that makes you scared of your fiction, which it doesn't have to be that way. Like there is nothing for you to fear. You just have to kind of learn how to make your fiction do what you want it to do. Okay. So at the bottom, remember, this is my treasury. They got the money from my Social Security account. So they presented this bill to me for me to be able to exchange it into security, which is money of a different issue. I can't spend this bill the way that it is right now, so I have to convert it. Who else is going to convert it? It's
Exactly. Who else is going to convert it? The only way they're going to convert it is an electronic system. Again, the electronic system is a credit system, not a money system. It doesn't sit there and circulate Federal Reserve notes through some conveyor belt all day long. That's not the kind of system it is. It's an electronic system that works merely on numerical crediting.
It's international. It's coming from a foreign company. So I have to convert it into money that I can use because they're giving me my dividends, my money for me investing credit into their company. Okay, so I'm going to read the endorsement to you. And then later on in another video, I'm going to go over the different endorsements. Okay, and I'm going to briefly explain for the sake of time because I don't want to get too far away from the 1099-C by introducing you to so many different concepts that you start to feel overwhelmed because you might not get it the first time around, and that's okay. I don't expect you to grasp everything overnight.
And real quick here, I want to mention this is an important aspect here as well. Once we get these things set up with your utility company, it's much easier to set up the account than to a FedWire setup, so that you no longer have to worry about getting the bill in the mail. It's automatically routed now through comprehension of the people that are running it, and you can set it up so it's just automatically done through a FedWire. Every time that they send that billing statement out, you receive your principal instead of having to go. Everybody is made whole instantly in the electronic system.
In red at the lower left-hand corner is the first endorsement. The reason that we have to endorse this bill is because we have to give it approval. We don't run from the bill, we approve it.
We're the only one that can. Again, that's that holder in due course. As a holder in due course, you have the right to enforce it. Part of that right to enforcement is the responsibility to give it its proper directive. And that's why this qualification here is so important. is for the presentation to the United States Treasury of Christina M. Wilson, all caps, semicolon, fiscal agent of the United States for redemption or exchange for securities of a new issue in accordance with the instructions by Christina Meredith Wilson Estate Bank and Trust. And then over here, it's by order of Christina M. Wilson. I didn't see, says see reverse side for endorsement. I don't see the without recourse part, which I would automatically put on there, but she does clarify by what she got here. It says Cat Meredith Will. I don't know that it's fully spelled out, but that's her signature, comma, executor by Christina hyphen Meredith Wilson, comma, executor. And again, folks, remember we also went over 1 U.S.C. 1 the other day. And remember, it says the masculine imports the feminine, and the feminine imports the masculine. So it doesn't matter if you use executor or executrix, right? We are talking about insane persons. Go ahead.
Was that Wilson or Will executor?
Well, up here, it doesn't look like it was spelled out completely, but who's to say on a signature, right? It's just a signature. Right. And some of them you can't even fucking read, right? So, right. And obviously this one is not fully spelled out as Christina because it ends with a T and it looks like an A there. So I imagine that's a nickname, Cat Meredith. And then of course, Will, I don't know. You would have to ask her, but it qualifies as a signature no matter how you look at it. It's there in ink, wet ink signature.
Giving our approval of this bill that was presented to us, okay? It says for presentation to the United States Treasury of Christina M. Wilson, fiscal agent of the United States for redemption or exchange for securities of a new issue in accordance with written instructions by Christina Meredith Wilson Estate. Underneath where it's scratched out is my home address. So I had to scratch that out, you know, because I don't want my home address out in public.
Okay, so it wasn't bank and trust. It was just the Christina Meredith Wilson Estate.
Okay, so what I just did, remember when if you got my SS4 book, this is why I tell you, it is important for y'all to read that ebook because you need to have a solid understanding of what your estate does and how it functions. What is it supposed to do? The
SS4 is a statement of claiming that estate that the state is administrating, claiming that you're the executor. It's supposed to go with the SS5, and nobody teaches us this. Nobody teaches us how to put our correct capacities in those documents. We're just told to go ahead and fill them out. And so we do the best we can.
That's what I was questioning there with that whole thing there. Does that mean she's the executor of the will? Is that what it looked like that might have been what she was stating there?
Right. She's letting him know that there is a living will testator alive conducting the affairs of the estate because the state can't administrate it if she comprehends her responsibility of that estate as the will and the testator to go ahead and give the proper directives. And that's all we're doing is giving a directive. Instead of letting it route offshore, we're giving a direct routing to the Treasury. That's basically all we're doing, direct routing. Simple term.
Okay. And so what I have done, if you remember, in setting up that estate EIN on IRS form SS4, the responsible party is my banker. They are responsible.
And again, I'm going to say that you don't need that SS5 and SS4. It's just that if you get caught up in this situation, and the reason I say that is because I know people that don't have Social Security numbers. Their children don't have Social Security numbers, and and there's still a way to do this, again, because you're still part of that trust as a benefactor, whether they have it enumerated or not. Again, understand that if the trust is expressed and you have a grantee and a trustee and you're the receiver of that benefit, then you must be the benefactor, beneficiary. It plays out by pure construct.
Not me. I'm not responsible for the bill. Not me. The banker is. Okay. You have to know that there's a difference between the name on the piece of paper and you.
And so when you give a special deposit to the banker, again, notice 12 U.S.C. 813 on that definition of deposit. It didn't say that you had to qualify anything other than making a special deposit to that financial institution, which they have already given credit or are obligated to give credit. It doesn't say anything else. It doesn't say that they're obligated to give services. You already bought the services. That's what the account is. Part of that services. Now that you can make a deposit, special directive, and they have to direct the routing according to your directive.
There's a difference. Okay, so my banker, KRISTINA M. Wilson, is the responsible party. She is the one that gives all the orders. Okay, and so in that endorsement, what she's saying is that
Is that a direct order? Yes, ma'am.
I am giving the authority to KRISTINA Meredith Wilson estate to execute this instrument. Okay, she passed it off to, it's a transmitting utility. She's handing it off to me now, which is another one of my fictions. Don't get confused. The executor is another fiction. It is my fiction. All of them are my fictions, okay? So my transmitting utility has now...
So you understand what she's saying there. Like I've said before, you already have multiple fictions. This is part of the premise of that multiple personality disorder. If you don't understand those fictions and all those different hats that you wear in those fictions throughout the days, and don't know how to keep them in order, you might get confused when you get home and start commanding everybody to do things as a employer, and that's where we get into these problems with communication. It deserves a different grammar, and people aren't familiar with that. They use this lingua franca as if though it applies to everything in life the exact same way. But in fact, it's a very beautiful language that if you learn how to use it, you can use it appropriately in the different venues. So again, it's getting down to the language that they're using and understanding that no word shall prosper against you. So understand the words they're using and fix them. It's a simple directive, and it's already written, and all you're doing is letting them know this is the routing, and it's the thing that their legal representatives will look up and say, oh my shit, yeah, this is right. Their accountants will look up and know, yeah, that's generally accepted accounting practices and principles. Well, yeah, of course there's got to be a negative there. It's mathematics.
Handed the football off to my executor of my estate. Your executor is an administrator. Okay, it's going to administrate for me. It's $636 owed to me, so I'm going to send my executor to go get it for me. Okay, so my transmitting utility gave authority to my estate to collect this payment. On the right-hand side, here is the endorsement. Isn't it starting to look like a check now? Because I'm a bank, you're a bank, we're the bank. By order of KRISTINA M. Wilson, because that's my banker. My banker put forth these wishes. It wasn't me, she said it. By order of KRISTINA M. Wilson, okay? She is now saying that I am giving the authority to KRISTINA Meredith Wilson estate to execute this instrument. And then I go ahead and I accept it. It's by KRISTINA Meredith Wilson, executor. In my ebook, I go over with you why the names are different. They're all my names. I just make them different so I know which entity I'm using and when, and I don't become confused.
See, so by Cat Meredith Will is one of her persons. So she just altered the name of her person. Like I said, you can change names every day. You can create as many persons as you want. You can use them all. You can understand that each one has a different hat, and that's why you created it, because it's a different hat. It wears a different hat. It's a matter of getting out there and understanding that everybody has these multiple personalities. Everybody plays, generally for the most part, a mom or dad some point in time in their life. Some point in time in their life, they play moms or grandmas and grandpas. Some people go through life and aren't parents at all. It's a very unique setup of diversity of experiences that we have here, and nobody's understanding that this language is being used against every last one of us to create the personalities that they need for the system, and don't tell you anything about them. Again, that comes to that public education system destroying the development of the natural talents of the little ones. That's where the personalities truly shine. You can truly recognize them and truly distinguish them for those various different characteristic traits that seemingly just naturally grow to be positive.
Okay. Notice in the middle, there is my signature. It's by me. That is called a autograph. Okay, different from a signature. We want to get away from signatures. We don't do that anymore. We autograph, and I'll talk about autographs in another video. Okay.
I've spoke about this for a long time because the signature, the sign of your nature, as opposed to autograph, that's the graphing that you use to show your authority. That's your authorship. Again, that relates to the Treaty of Berne and the protection of literary and artistic works. And Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, protection of the author's work is of the top priority. So if you're creating a writing, they have to pay attention to that writing. They can't sit there and say you're creating terrorism or anything, unless you are, of course, blatantly. But that's why I urge you people, again, to understand the words so that you can use them against them. It's the very words that they're putting before you. And if you don't understand how they're used, then you'll never learn how to use them for your own benefit.
So now we have just completed our utility bill, and it is ready for endorsement on the back. If you see, I have a little note right there because I'm notifying the Reliant that see reverse side for endorsement, because I want to receive that $636, but I have to tell them where to send the money. I have to give them a endorsement on the back, and this is called a restrictive endorsement, excuse me. And
it's a direct routing, because you're going to restrict all of the other open gates along that route that might reach out and want to grab it. That's literally what's going to happen. It's just like an electrical circuit board. You're going to close all doors and open one switch that gives it a direct route. Boom, from here to here. Point A to point B, point of origin to final destination. 19 CFR 149.3. You can give a number in lieu of a name and address. Where is that number going to take it? It's going to take it from its point of origin to its final destination.
next time we talk, I'm not going to tell you what a restrictive endorsement is. You're going to come and tell me what it is.
You're going to restrict it to using the number, a widely recognized, commercially identifiable number that can be used in lieu of the name and address. It's an electronic routing number for the electronic credit system.
Because I want to know that you're learning, okay? So I'm going to show you what the back of the instrument looks like. You have to endorse, it is a check. You have to endorse, you must endorse the front and you must endorse the back, okay? So we're going to go to the next slide. So I'm going to show you what the back of the instrument looks like. All right. Pay to the order of Christina M. Wilson, because that is the name on one of your executors can give this money to anyone that you choose. If I wanted to give it to Jesus, I could pay to the order of Jesus, and then the bank has to go find Jesus so that they can pay him. Okay, you can give this money because it's your check, it's your money. You can give it to anybody that you want to. I have a regular bank account in my name, okay, and my executor is going to complete this transaction of making sure that these funds are deposited into whatever bank account I tell them to. So I want them to give it to me in it's a regular non-interest bearing checking account. Okay, it's not a special account. I open the account with my social security number. Okay, and with the proper endorsement, this is called a restrictive endorsement, meaning if Reliant does anything other than what I said in front of the Postmaster General, because I got not a 1099, I have a certified mail barcode on the front of this instrument, and the Postmaster has witnessed this international transaction.
Tied to the general ledger. Like I said, it's a matter of narrow casting, which is a direct routing. And that's why there's a narrow cast master trust report that you can file. And it tells them that there's an out of balance account. These guys are failing to balance this account. And then they have 3 days to research and resolve the out of balance account with the general ledger.
And if they do anything other than deposit my money, I'm going to send the Postmaster General. Listen to the name, a general, a military term. I'm going to send the Postmaster General after them to prosecute them. Now we can make complaints to the Postal Inspector General, because if Reliant does not settle this bill and transfer the funds to me as they have been instructed, they are committing banking fraud. That is when the Postmaster is able to act. You have to remember that I'm also doing a 1099-C. So I have just involved 2 agencies. I have involved the Postmaster General, the Inspector Generals over at the Post Office, and I have just involved the IRS. And they do not want to hear from the Postmaster General. They really don't. If they had to pick who was going to kick their ass, they.
And so when I said the nation's leaders go forth and pay a contribution of their gross domestic product to the Postal Congress, that's a tax. Okay? That's the tax. That's the TIV. That's the gift. That's the contribution. You pay an Social Security contribution and a federal insurance contributions. FICA, Federal Insurance Contributions Act. It's all contributions. It's all tax.
They would pick the IRS probably.
And again, remember 26 U.S.C. 6201. Taxes are duly paid by stamp.
Because the Postmaster General can do much worse to them than the IRS can. And so now you have the protection of both while this transaction is navigating through the international sea. You have the protection of the Postmaster General, and you have the protection of the IRS as well, okay? Notice I wrote in words minus $636.06. That is how much I want debited from the account and sent to my bank, okay? And who ordered this was my transmitting utility. My utility is going to give the money. It's by by the transmitting utilities order. That is my investor. That is my creditor. That is my transmitting utility. That is my fiduciary. That fiction can be whatever you want it to be. And that's what it is. That is my banker. That is my fiduciary. That is my creditor. That is my investor.
In other words, what she's saying is it can perform any function it needs to. as long as you comprehend how to make it perform.
Entity ordered the transmission of funds to my estate, okay, to my executor, the executor of my estate. And the executor gets to decide where that money goes. And so my executor has decided to send it to my local bank account for me to get by direct deposit, okay? And you see for deposit only. The line that is scratched out is the name of my bank. Underneath that is the account number to where they are to deposit the funds. Once I give them the name of the bank, they can look up the routing number. I don't have to give them the routing number. They can look it up themselves. And then I put my account number. I put my account number in brackets. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about the brackets because I know it's so much bad information out there about why you put your zip code or your account numbers in brackets. Your zip code is put into brackets because when your zip code has that 4-digit number on the end, that 4-digit extension, that is now an account number. It identifies the zip code is a routing number, and the additional 4 digits is the account number. It is the number to your safety deposit box. And the reason that you put it into brackets is because the brackets suggests, it tells anyone in the public that this is to be redacted. It strikes that private information from the public record. And so you always want to put account numbers or your zip code. When you put those 4 digits on the end, that's a 9-digit number. That is the number to your safety deposit box. But if you're just putting your zip code without the 4 digits, you don't have to use brackets. Okay, so everybody was out here scaring the hell out of people, saying, "Oh, that's a military jurisdiction, and you're in the sea. If you don't put this in brackets, you're in their jurisdiction, and that is a crock. It is a crock of shit. It is a crock of mess. Excuse my language. That is not the truth of why you're putting those numbers in brackets. Okay, you're putting those numbers in brackets to strike it from the. You're the court. You're striking it from the public record. So anyone who gets their hands on it cannot use it. Okay, it's like a code, right? Like a computer code. Like the brackets kind of, it tells the public, which are our servants, it tells them what they can and can't do. And so that, and when it's in brackets, it is struck from the public record. And because I'm sending this instrument, anyone who's not me is considered public. Anyone who isn't you is considered public. It's that simple. It's that simple. If it's not you, it's public. Okay? And so one thing that I forgot to add to this instrument was a thumbprint. And the reason you add a thumbprint to the instrument is to
Interesting. To preserve?
Banking fraud. It's kind of like a watermark.
To prevent banking fraud. It's kind of like a watermark. Yeah, it is just like a watermark. It represents a blood mark.
Okay, so if Reliant decides that they want to dishonor my instrument, which they won't, or they want to commit fraud, now I could call the FBI. And the FBI can request the original instrument, and when they analyze my thumbprint on the back of the instrument, they'll know that I'm the real creditor here. I am the owner of this instrument. It is me. It is not them. I told you that they're mimicking us.
See, she's enforcing her rights as holder in due course. She's the last one to hold the instrument. She gets to qualify it in the correct capacity for which she wants to enforce it. They can't deny her that. That's a securities law. That's under UCC 9.
Calling themselves a utility when they know they're not. And so since they're mimicking us, we have to put in extra protections to...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, UCC 3, my apologies. That's under UCC 3, negotiable instruments. And if they deny your ability to negotiate, then what they're doing is denying UCC 3-104, where it says the authorized representative giving an unambiguous authorized signature on the instrument is therefore not liable for the person named in the instrument. Therefore, they're denying you your ability to reserve your rights without recourse, letting them know that you're not taking on a liability, but merely giving a direct for the routing.
Make sure that when we report these incidents of banking fraud to the IRS, to the Inspector General, or to the FBI, that we have enough evidence on this instrument to support what it is that we're saying. Okay, so that's the reason for the thumbprint, not all of that other mess you heard that, oh, you have to prove that you're a living person. No, nothing in commerce is living. The reason that you're putting your thumbprint on there is it is a security measure. It is so if anybody else tries to lay claim to this instrument, they're going to jail, period. Okay, so all of that superstition that, you know, people have been putting out here and causing fear and causing confusion, okay, we're not doing that anymore. That's over with, especially with me. Now, if you decide that you want to follow another person's their instructions or how they teach, listen, it's a free country. You have the freedom to go where you want to go and believe what you want to believe, but you can't gain or obtain information from someone else and then come and ask me about it.
See, and the reason that they reference the FBI is the FBI folks, they're the ones that have the fingerprint file as well as the Interstate Identification Index. That's what the identification is all about, is interstate trade and commerce. And so when it comes down to these negotiable instruments, that's what we're dealing with. It's a matter of trade or commerce, but is it interstate, interstate? Is it domestic or foreign? And when we come to these laws and regulations and sort out the fact that we're foreign to the contract, but relative to the trust as the benefactor, that's the whole purpose of correcting the language, is to let them know that we understand the contract is already there, that this is a creation of United States business under United States citizenship. And in order to work in a good faith capacity with the quote United States, as a diligent and intellectual being that can manage his own affairs, at that same time he's going to help the United States manage their affairs when they want him to qualify those documentations. He's going to be able to do so and let him know that, okay, I'll let you do this investment, but make sure that you understand I'm the creditor, so that when it's said and done, at the end of the day, you make your profits, everybody gets to have their party, and I get my credit back. That's all we're doing. We're technically supposed to be creditors unto the nations, profits unto the nations.
You have to go and ask the person that gave you the information to explain it to you. I can't. But what I'm telling you is that a lot of the information out here, it's bad information, and it scares the hell out of y'all. It scared me when I heard it. I was scared. I was scared to death. That's what led me to learn all of this and do what I did, because I was so scared. And the more I learned, I'm like, okay, I don't think, you know, people's interpretation of this information is really accurate. And if you listen to Patrick, he says the same thing. Okay, and you guys know that Patrick is, you know, I give him credit for a lot of the things that I know now.
And that's where I got to give credit too. She's talking about Patrick Devine. Patrick Devine used to live a couple hours south of me. I went down and met him a couple times, and he's a very, very highly intellectual man. Was, God grace him. He's passed on a couple years now, but great information, great researcher, really dug into it and comprehended it better than most people, and was able to convey that comprehension. Again, where I get my relative source of everything is a postal unit. As that contract postal unit, you're using an address, and you're clearly using a legal name first and foremost. That's identifying the agent, and then you use an instrumentality of an enumeration of an account. And that's a street name security with its bonding number under the Postal Realty Trust, Inc., a real estate investment trust that is then further expressed by the city, state, and zip code. Like she said here, there's an account there. It's a safety deposit box, a lock box, more like it. It's a lock box.
And a lot of the credit goes to me because I put in the work. Like I actually did these things and I saw how it worked and how it operated. And now I'm able to bring this information to you
Come on up, tribe.
and show you how it actually operates, so that now you don't feel so much fear anymore. You don't think someone is coming to put you out of your house now or take your car away from you anymore. You don't have to live in that type of fear no more, because I know what that feels like. All right. Okay, so finally we make it to the 1099-C. Okay, now remember, in my ebook, I tell you the reason why you're setting up your estate. One of the primary reasons is because you want to mask that Social Security, that everybody wants that number because it's access to your labor, to your energy. They're bloodsuckers, like in the vampire movies.
And like I said, when it comes to these courts, I've got evidence that they convert that Social Security number so that they can use it according to their intents. Again, that's a conversion unknown to us until we get that record. You can show it, prima facie evidence, and then apply the statutes, codes, rules, and regulations against them. They had no consent to communicate about a debt with my woman. None. None of them. Yeah, here the court is communicating and conveying a debt as it relates to my woman. I find that despicable that nobody along that line would validate the debt with me or my woman.
They want access to that energy. And when you set up an estate, that is the first level of protection. You want to protect that Social Security number, that Treasury banking number, that credit card number. You want to protect that, okay? And so now on the 1099-C, because our responsible party, which is the responsible party for our estate, go back to the SS4 and read over it. Who was the responsible party? So now the estate can file the 1099-C, okay? And the estate would put its, shit.
Okay. So there we have it. We have Russ still with us. What secured the debt? The directive. The directive. Let's go back. Let me pull it up and we'll go back to where it says. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner. And I'll read it for you. It says, for presentation to the United States Treasury of, and then KRISTINA M. Wilson, all caps, semicolon, fiscal agent of the United States for redemption or exchange for securities of a new issue in accordance with written instructions by KRISTINA Meredith, Wilson Estate. And then she gave her endorsement down here by order of KRISTINA M. Wilson, the all caps, by Cat-Meredith Will, executor. That's evidently what she named herself on the SS4 to be the executor. And then by KRISTINA Meredith Wilson, executor. And then she goes on with the backside, paid to the order of KRISTINA M. Wilson. And again, like I said on the front, I didn't see it without recourse. That's the only thing I would put on there. And she clearly states minus $636 which is what I've been trying to tell people for a few years as well. Same thing with when you want to write out a check, make sure you put on the end, on credit. Yeah, that's a credit device, and you can put your private terms on there. So when you put it out, write it all out, $100.00 on credit. So you got anything for us there, Russ? That's the end of our video for tonight. And like
Yeah,
I said, we'll
no,
come back and do another one tomorrow night. Finish it up.
I ain't got much tonight. I haven't felt really good the last few days, but starting to feel a little bit better. Hopefully get back at it 100%. But I don't have much of anything. I'll just encourage everybody to be the change they wish to see. I think things are changing, though, slowly but surely.
Well, yeah, more people catch on to this and understand. Like I said, we're talking about that dual jurisdiction. A lot of people think it's admiralty maritime. No, it's like it's expressed in here. There's an admiralty maritime jurisdiction, law of the sea, that's been extended into the land. Those are your two jurisdictions, land and sea.
Yeah.
So, and again, like I said, it's the same thing as the merger of equity with common law. It comes three times. You got the merger of equity with common law, which is the merger of the law of the sea with the law of the land, which is, what was it? Which is, oh, I just had it and I slipped it. Well, I'll think about it and I'll express it in a video sometime, because everything comes in a triplicate. You got the land and, contract and trust. So there was a time where they did this merger and it covered all three situations. They covered merging equity with common law, which is the merger of the law of the sea with the law of the land, which is the merger of the law of the contract with the law of trust. And like I said, everything today in contract is backed by some kind of a trust. And when we were talking about here tonight, that's an offshore banking account. That's an offshore trust. Offshore trust, domestic trust, foreign trust, they're all extensions of the global postal trust. Because that's where that's who covers all accounting. All of those bank accounts. It's done through the global postal trust services. The contracts come second, folks. So every contract is just like a second billing party. It's showing you that, oh, well, maybe there's a third person here that I need to think about because I already see the grantee and the trustee. Can I fill the position of the beneficiary? Can I give them information that would be beneficial to me? If so, then you might think about it. But make sure that you don't get slipped up into the contract and giving up those benefits, rights, titles, and interest to the property. Because then you're not going to receive the property. It's called abandonment.
Right. Hopefully there's a day coming soon. I mean, you got to imagine, man, there's a lot of people out here struggling that a lot of these cats ain't really looking at out here. You know what I mean? And the complexity of all of this shit is just so overwhelming for these people.
Yeah.
And it never should have been that way. And I still, I can't picture that it should be that way. You know?
Well, and it shouldn't, but because of our education system and people wanting to take upon conveniences and comforts, we've gotten into this modern society of technologies where we've got these toys that will teach our kids. Really?
I mean, yeah, these things that has been done. I mean, these are definitely how it still blows my mind. How in the hell, in a world that everybody takes an oath to this God and all of this shit, and you sit back and think, how the fuck did we ever get here?
Yeah. Well, think about our history again. I'm gonna repeat it again about the Boston Tea Party. If you really think some of our forefathers were that intelligent when they rebelled against the tax system, and turned around and threw all that tea in the bay, rather than one, either selling it or giving it away for pure endorsement reasons, you know, rather than throwing it in the sea and wasting it all. You know, that just, I don't care what side of the war you want to be on. If you're going to be on the war, involved in the war, make sure you make intelligent enough decisions that you're going to benefit from it. And that's what these forms are. They're literally known as Battle of the Forms. For heaven's sake, we've got legislators in California that went to session and debated over hours and hours of legislating out plastic straws and paper wraps. And now we end up with paper straws in plastic wraps, and no one paid attention to the full issue of what about the plastics themselves? What's bad about them? What's, you know, and again, then you've got people that are looking at the plastics as if though the plastic's the problem, when in reality, it's the people that are the problem. The gun doesn't shoot itself. The plastic doesn't end up on the floor by itself. So it's real idiocy that we still see that all these people believe that this system works for their benefit, and they cry and scream for this demand and supply and get no improvement. Why? Because that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the drama. They need that drama. And as long as they can live in that squalor and drama, hey, they've got something to complain about to make it look like they can do something better while never getting better.
Well,
Anyway.
you know, yeah. Get back tomorrow, you said?
Yep. Back tomorrow. And real quick here, we got, what about the post office business gateway? I've got my own mid and crit already set up with the enterprise payment system account named under the trust. It's titled the Keith Orland Little FBU Trust. So that's already set up. And that's establishing a trust, again, in that electronic payment system, the credit system, under a treaty that's already present, and the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union that says freedom of transit is guaranteed throughout the entire territory of the Union. So that part of it's already established, and now it's just a matter of funding it. So it's a matter of gathering up all the funds that I put out there already to have them returned through a transfer of title with expenses incidental, transferring it all the way up through the, quote, these other jurisdictions, so it ends up with the land jurisdiction, the Postal Service, that is tied directly to the general ledger, where all out of balance accounts are resolved. I think that's reasonable. That way it puts it in the right hands. They're the ones responsible for researching and resolving out of count balances with the general ledger. And that's what we're dealing with, is the general ledger. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean anything by.
All right. Well, with that, folks, we are out. And you guys know me. I love you. But I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's to say, I don't care if you hate me or if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night.